Our drama is the hardest job in Hollywood.
Are you able to, like, between takes and whatnot, is there some lightness around?
Oh, God,
like nobody, you're not walking around heavy?
Oh, God, no. I sold shoes. I became a photographer. I did headshots. I've worked with some great people. I worked with Robert Redford.
So Al Pacino, you were with him in The Godfather Part 3.
Mm-hmm.
What was your relationship with him like? And Andy Garcia.
We're still very close touch because we were the two new guys on that movie. I learned a lot when I did an episode with Tom Hanks.
It feels like your perspective is so good, like such a healthy perspective. Did you ever have a moment where you really didn't have that?
I wasted years of therapy. I could have just come on this podcast.
You probably got more info out of celebrities than anyone else.
In my private life, I was living a nightmare.
This was definitely no stock podcast.
I think we ought to do this every week now.
Right.
I've especially actually purposefully incorporated a lot of myself into that character. The fact that I like to cook, that I like to, sing and all these things. So in 17 years on Criminal Minds, I've been able to tap in all. It's a known fact that David Rossi likes to cook and does these things and throws these parties at his house. And so all these things come into play. And it creates, it works out well, especially my interaction with the other characters.
It's interesting. Some of your friends from Criminal Minds have been on my show a few times.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, recently I had AJ on again.
Oh, great.
And Aisha.
Perfect. So
they would know how real you are working with you.
Sure.
You guys know each other pretty well at this point.
Yeah. I mean, they always make that joke, not a joke, but when people make that observation when you're doing a show, oh, we're like family. We're like family.
They always say that.
We are family.
Mm-hmm.
We're beyond we're like family. Because you spend that many years together, that many hours together. Yeah, it doesn't get much closer than that.
That's interesting. So it's like family because you are together that much, but not every family functions that well.
No, we're actually a very well-functioning family.
Right, which is rare.
Yeah, it is rare.
For a family, it's rare.
Yeah, but I think it helps that we all have of a like mind, and we all have. I certainly have tried to, being what they refer to as number one on the call sheet. Which my character is in this particular instance. I take that responsibility very highly because as you go, you are now giving permission to everybody else to go. So, and I've been in those situations where let's put it this way, if the number one on the call sheet is nuts,
mm-hmm.
From 2 to 100 or whatever it may be, they can maybe get a little nuts too because it's like, well, we're just taking our cue from the crazy guy, here. But if number one isn't nuts, hopefully, if number one sets a tone, and that's what I mean, I learned this. I learned a lot when I did an episode of Bosom Buddies years ago with Tom Hanks, because he was number one on the call sheet. And Tom Hanks, walked in the room that first day of I'm playing this one character. I was going to be in one episode, one scene maybe. Not a big deal. It was when I was still kind of hoping to get somewhere in this, out here. So I was playing I think I was playing an Arab sheik in a gambling casino, some goofy thing. But he went around the table. So you got all the regulars there who are very, everybody's, knows each other. They've been on the show for a few years. Then all guys like myself, or women as well, that are there just for that, maybe one day to shoot for one scene. But he comes around and says, "Hi, I'm Tom. Welcome to the show. Great to have you." And all of a sudden you were like, "Oh, wow, that's cool. How cool is that?"
Yeah.
And it puts you totally at ease. And so now you're able to do your thing. And it makes you feel like you're contributing. Obviously, you're not going to be here tomorrow. They're going to go on maybe for years and years, but you were welcomed.
Yeah, you matter.
You matter, and I learned so much from that. And I've told Tom that because then when I got in a position where I started to become that number one guy, I made it a point to do that. Whenever we would do a read through of the script, those days, unfortunately due to COVID, those days are almost over now. They don't do these big read throughs with a whole room full of people.
There's no more table reads?
Nah, they're very little. You do them, but you do them by
on a Zoom.
Or you do them. We still do them. We do them live, but everybody's at home on their cameras, so it's a little different. So I have to say, "Welcome everybody," as opposed to walking around and actually, shaking their hands, looking them in the eyes. "Hey, welcome. Good to be here." Because then you can get to talk to them. Sometimes they'll say, "Oh, by the way, my brother knows your brother." Oh, well, you never know. So anyway, the point is you just want to be, as real as possible and just, whatever.
Well, real is good, in my opinion. But I have a question about what you said. I got to get back to. So did Tom remember that when you told him years later? Did he remember welcoming you?
I don't know if he remembered welcoming me. I think, you know what? I think he might have, only because of this. As it turned out, at the time I had written a play, or conceived a play many years ago in Chicago called Bleacher Bums, about the fans of the Chicago Cubs. And we did it out here as a waiver play when I first moved out here in 1978. We opened it up in 80, in fact. And it ran for 10 years. It was very popular. It got me my agent, but still it was just a waiver play, 99 seats. But it only ran like 3 performances a week. But it was very, very popular. And Tom saw the play back in the day. So he did kind of know me from that. And even I remember, as it turned out, that particular day that I shot on the film, on a TV show, his car was in the shop, and he lived in the valley, not far from me. He was married to his first wife at the time, and they had a little baby. And he said, hey, you live, we started talking, because he said, I saw you in that play, Bleacher Bums. And I was like, oh, well, thanks, Mr. Hanks or Tom, whatever. And he says, and I told him, I live in Studio City. Hey, I live in Studio City. He says, my car's in the shop. Do you think I can ride home with you? Well, sure. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm driving the lead guy from the TV show home, And we talked. It's always great. I mean, you talk about a mensch.
Yes.
Him and Henry Winkler should get the awards for like best human in show business. But then, of course, some years later, let's probably 3 or 4 years later, I wind up doing Money Pit with Tom, and things have changed a bit. My career's certainly changed a lot, and so we've known each other ever since.
It's funny to me hearing you talk about Tom Hanks in that way, because to me it's like, you would just, of course, be talking like normal colleagues.
Yeah.
So it's great that you had a moment.
Yeah.
Where
absolutely. Yeah.
And like, I think this has happened for you a lot, hasn't it? Where you've had these like idols or people you look up to. Maybe Tom Hanks wasn't your idol, but like other people. And I know you told me before about forgetting his name, Peter Falk.
Oh God,
right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You've become close. You've had these relationships with people.
If you go, we go in the other room.
Yeah.
I have his star from the Walk of Fame hanging on the wall.
Yeah, you told me about that last time. And we'll take some photos too, so we can look.
Yeah, because we became so close, and then he never got his star. So, the story that I made that happen.
Yeah, yeah. But it's incredible. Do you sometimes pinch yourself and say, like, how did I?
Oh, get to meet your heroes. Yeah.
But you are not just meeting your heroes. I feel like you more than most people. I feel like you are able to form real relationships with a lot of them.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Like sometimes you're put in that situation, and it's either it may work out that way and it may not, but that's okay. You don't want to. I'm not trying to force this situation.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I love you. I want to be your friend for the rest of our lives.
Well, that doesn't usually go over well.
Yeah, that doesn't go over well.
It's a little cringe.
But when it works. I mean, because I've worked with some great people. I worked with Robert Redford. I've worked with working with Don Amici and shooting Things Change. In that instance, we did become that close.
So what do you think it is? Like you're saying, if it works, it works. If it's going to, it's going to. But what are some of the things, the ingredients of that, do you think?
I don't think you can fabricate that or create that or make that happen. In other words, it's one of those things like anything else. Especially in this business, you work with so many people over so many years, it gets into the numbers get into the thousands.
Right.
Because it's not like you're working at a factory and you're, hi Jim, hi Lois, and you're the same people you're seeing for 30 years, and you know everybody, and that's fine. Here, especially when I was even in television, even though you're on the same show, the cast is the same pretty much, that core group, but these people are going in and out and in and out. So you're working with over the years thousands of different people. You're not going to make best of friends with every single one of them, or not even a lot of them, and it's okay. And so you don't orchestrate that. But sometimes something happens, or some things are exchanged, or words exchanged. You're like, hey, how you doing? Oh, you find you have a common ground or interest. Then it leads to something else in the conversation. Then before you know it, you think, wow, that's cool. We ought to get together sometime, or something. So it's organic. And when it is.
I think, though, that it does take somebody to say, oh, we ought to get together for something. Because I think that today, especially, people are like, loneliness is an epidemic, as they say. Like, people are getting lonelier and lonelier.
Right.
And I think there's less of that, what you're talking about. And also because people are on Zooms instead of in
Well,
person.
I was just going to say that, people, of my age group, we there was no nothing. There was no video. With the TVs, you had to go up and turn the volume up and turn the dial. There was no cellular phones. No, I still don't. My daughter does my social media. I don't even know how to go on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or any of that. I don't look at it. I do know text. I can text, and I do email. I mean, email's been great. It's like, oh, that's kind of like an instant. But like, I know, like some guys I know, fairly big name guys who they don't do email.
Really? Not even email? Because email's been around a really long time.
I know, but there's some, a couple, I just don't want to bust them on a thing. But I mean,
I would love to
very
hear who
well
they are.
known. I'll tell you off camera. Very well known actors and writers and who just don't do it. In other words, if you don't have their phone number, you're not reaching them. And I get it. I get it. I don't go quite that far because email's been pretty, that's good. That's cool. And the texting is pretty cool. I think Alexander Graham Bell's probably rolling over his grave, though, thinking, I spent all this time to get people to talk to each other through this machine.
Yeah.
And now they're writing. They're doing it. They're reading stuff.
It's so weird. It's like back to the telegram or something like
it's
that.
almost
It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's almost like you don't need a telephone anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, my parents both will, like, they have these phone calls still. Like, they'll call to have a whole conversation.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? They'll call
course
to
they
talk.
will.
So it's
They're
like.
probably my age. They're probably younger.
Well, I'll tell you their ages. My mom is just turned 83.
Okay.
And my dad turned 93.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, okay. I'm shy of them, but I'm closer to them than to you. Let's put it that way.
Well,
I'll be 78. I mean, there's no secret there. I'll be 78 in about 8 days, I think.
8 days. Happy
13th,
birthday early.
Anyway.
But yeah, they'll get ready for a phone call. So I know if I call my mom, I'd better have an hour to talk to her.
That's great.
Which is great, but
great is
also,
that?
yes, it is great. At the same time, I don't think anything is as good as being in person.
No, and I agree too, and that's why it kills me.
love it in
Sometimes you'll
person.
be in a restaurant, you'll see two people, and they're both talking to the phone.
Yeah.
Or looking at the phone instead of each other across the table. You go, wow.
I was watching a independent film from the 90s the other day. I think it was from 96. It was Day Trippers with, like, Liev Schreiber was in it, and from The White Lotus, Parker Posey.
Okay.
Anyway, and I always forgot her name. I forgot. But anyway, it was pre-phone. And so it was this group of people who was in a car together. They would go to each other's houses, and they were just interacting and talking, and they were talking about random subjects. And I love conversations like that. They just happen, and you talk about things. And I think the more phones, that we have, you just don't think to just sit around and just talk about whatever.
No.
Like, this is just talking about whatever.
Right.
This is a rich thing that we should all be able to have, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you hope it doesn't ultimately go away to where it's just like people have a thing implanted in their head and you can just kind of like they start electronically talking to each other and whatever. And the real benefit of it has been to talk to people that you can't get to. Like, in other words, I have a lot of family in Europe. And so to be able to get on a Zoom or to get on a Facebook time or whatever they call it on the phone.
It's FaceTime.
FaceTime,
right?
yeah. And talk to my cousin in Italy that's kind of great because in the old days, you'd have to even wait for the operator. I want to call Italy, and you'd hear through the phone, and it was costing you about $5 a minute.
Right,
and
exactly.
It was like, oh my God.
A fortune.
So you're talking fast, like, yeah, how are you? Go good. Ciao. It was like, how long was I on? 2 minutes? Oh, $10. So that's been a benefit, obviously. But otherwise, you're absolutely
agree.
right.
I have a rule now. I don't do any Zooms for the show. I broke it a couple of weeks ago for Steve's on because he was in London.
Yeah, if
filming.
you have to. Sure.
Speaking of Italy, I've had Salvatore Esposito. Do you know him?
I don't.
He's a Gomorrah. Do you know the show Gomorrah?
I've heard of the show Gomorrah.
So good.
Yeah, that's the gangster thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It really.
My family's from southern Italy, so they they deal with that.
And you should. I'm sure they watched it.
Yeah.
It's over now, but yes, they would know all about it,
Sure.
and they would also be able to understand it because they speak the dialect of Napoli, right?
Yeah. No, it's funny. I just had to give I just filmed it here a couple of days ago. I had to film me speaking Italian. In Italian, I had to, because I'm addressing this group in Rome on a Zoom next week. And so this is kind of a thing, a teaser that they're going to put out there saying, please, basically, well, I'm going to be doing this next week. Well, it's a real privilege. But I had to do it all in Italian. So it was like, because I speak it enough that like my family understands me, but it made me think of you talking about dialect, because my father was Sicilian and my mother was what they would say Barese from Puglia. So it's almost two. Sicilian's a different language.
Yes.
So the Italian that I learned was like bits and pieces of both, which is like, it's not really Italian, but it's
Right.
enough that they understand it, but it's somebody talking broken English to me speaking broken Italian to them. So I was trying to be a little more, speak the Italian like, if it's written, in other words, if it's written correctly, I can say it pretty much and pronounce it. But if I'm just talking, winging it,
Yeah.
I'm going to be thrown in a little Sicilian, a little Barese, a little bit, but
Yeah.
but they'll get it.
I love that. So I didn't even know there was Barese. That's from Bari, right?
Yeah, people from Bari, or if you're
Yeah.
Calabrese, it'd be Calabrese, or be from, if you're from Torino,
Yeah.
it'd be from, or from Venezia. They have a certain, Italy's full of dialects.
Yeah. So
but
I'm gonna-
and the further, when you get to Sicily, it's not even the same language.
Right. And they, by the way, on Gomorrah, they have subtitles for Italians.
Oh, great.
Because it's in the dialect.
Oh, right. There you go.
So not all Italians know it. But it's funny. I'll tell you a little story about Bari because my dad, I'm sure, will be listening or watching.
Uh-huh.
So everybody thinks my dad is Italian. They often think I'm Italian too. I'm not, and my dad is Jewish. So is there something there that they're picking up on?
Jewish and Italians. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a certain simpatico kind of a thing going there that's very often happens.
100%. So people often say to him, and this is my 93-year-old father, "Oh, you're Italian, right? Where are you from? Where are you from? Italy, So my dad has decided to tell people, I'm from Bari.
Oh, perfect.
So
Tell
people all over the world think my dad's from Bari.
Great. I can give him a few places names he could drop.
Excellent. Fabulous. But yeah, so that's great that you're speaking Italian so well. And I tried. I did Rosetta Stone before I went there for a few months. And Rosetta Stone was very good for the accent. I will say that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten complimented on my accent in Italy from a lot of
That's great.
Italians, which I love, but I cannot do it. I cannot get it. There's no way.
Yeah, you almost
feel.
have to really, when I'm there for an extended period, if I'm there for a month, it gets pretty good.
It
But because
does.
you have to do it. I have to do it every day to everybody. But if I'm not speaking it normally, I have to really think about it. So my one cousin was just here for 2.5 weeks with his wife and daughter, and they speak basically no English. The 11-year-old girl, she's studying it in school, so sometimes I'd have to go through her. Benedetta, tell your father,
Yeah.
But it takes that. You have to almost immerse yourself into it to be really.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do.
And on
I
the
feel like
phone, it's
too
really
late.
hard because you can't see their face. You can't,
Right.
if I'm one-on-one and talking to you, it's much easier.
So if you're watching something like a movie in Italian, do you watch movies in Italian?
I have, but I'll watch the subtitles.
You will.
Yeah, because it's too difficult to especially they're talking fast and they're talking sometimes slang and dialect, and I'll miss 90% of it.
Well, do you have subtitles on regularly anyway?
On those kind of movies I do, but normally I don't know.
Not with an English speaking, because people now, I think most people actually have subtitles on most of the time now.
I'm finding that out. I think maybe it's generational. My daughter does that.
It is, I think, generational, and it's becoming more and more so. And I think I've heard also that the dialogue or the audio is not as easy to hear in today's.
That may be too. Yeah, that's true. Luckily, my hearing's still pretty good, I guess.
But even it blends into the music or something.
Into the ambience.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. But and my wife actually does that on occasion. I see she'll put on the subtitles. That's true.
My kids do it, and it kind of bothers me. I don't want to see it because my eyes will be drawn to the subtitles.
I think that's why I don't do it. It's
Yeah.
I don't need any more confusion. I'll just see what I'm seeing. That's
right,
fine.
right. I'll just connect the dots on my own in my
Right.
head. Exactly.
Exactly.
But yeah, there are so many of these generational things that are different. It's changed everything, how we watch everything. Watching movies on your phone, you don't do that, do you?
No, on an airplane maybe, just because it's not the only thing that So that's all you got.
I have almost never liked a movie I've seen on an airplane.
A couple of times I've discovered a movie on an airplane, though, and I'll say to because I was captive and I had watched it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's how I found. It was around Christmas time that year, and it was that one, The Christmas Story, that one with
A Christmas Story, the one with
the kids.
Ralphie.
Yeah. I saw that on a flight. It was in December, And I thought, oh, how cool is this? It was a pretty good movie, you know.
It is a good movie.
And the other one was actually one with the one Bob Odenkirk did. They just made the second one.
Nobody.
Yeah, Nobody. Happened to be, because I know Bob, 'cause he's from Chicago. And he was, when I hosted Saturday Night Live years ago, he was a writer on the show then. You know, it was before he was like an actor. And I saw it was available, and I'm on this flight, and I was by myself, and I go, oh, wait, Bob Odenkirk. How good could this be? Bob is an actor. And when I hit it, it was like, man, Bob, he's like, great.
Go, Bob.
Go,
You're an action
Bob.
star now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So anyway, but normally, no, it's not like I choose to look at a phone to watch a movie. No.
Yeah. But I think the reason I don't like any movies on the plane is because they're so small, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, if I usually listen to music and read, you know, but if you know, if it's a long flight and there's something there, I might check it out. Like in those instances, see, out of all the flights I've taken, those are the only two that I can really say.
Exactly,
I
yeah.
kind of like those two things.
Yeah.
I can't remember anything else.
And you're traveling a lot. I always think about this with you. I feel like you're doing so many things all the time. You have like really a rich life, and not just the people in it, but the projects you
Yeah,
are.
I mean, my feeling about that too is like, especially as you get older, you start to realize there's only so many dates on the calendar. And there's going to come a time when the calendar stops. And if that calendar has stopped for a significant number of my friends, in the sense of they're gone. And as we all will be someday at different periods as time goes on. Everybody's on the clock. So I start to think sometimes that, well, if I'm on that clock, I should certainly, that's probably the most precious thing you have is time. In the sense of, because once, I can't get back a minute ago. You know what I mean? Today's what, November 5th? I can't, you know, once this day's gone, November 5th, 2025 is gone. That's history. So I got to, you know, so let's make the most out of November 6th
Yeah.
and beyond. And that's all. So it's pretty much that. Though there are going to be days when you say to yourself, you know what? I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to see nobody. I just want to veg, maybe just listen to music or lay down or read or some, and that's okay too, as long as that's your conscious choice. But otherwise, if there's something that's going to occupy my time and brain and whatever may be of interest, why not give it a shot?
Yeah.
You know, I feel pretty blessed that have an opportunity to do that, and that I'm not like necessarily sitting here worrying, oh shit, if I don't get to work, you know, at the steel mill by 8, you know, then we might get laid off and the kids aren't going to eat. You know what I mean? There's some people who,
Yeah.
you know, don't have the luxury of even thinking about being busy with anything else.
Right.
They don't have that option.
But it's intentional for you too. Like you also, right? You like to do things. You like to be.
Yeah, I do, because you never know what, you know, it's like opening that, you know, door. You want door number 1, 2, or 3? Let's open all 3. Let's see what's up behind them.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You know, especially if all you're investing is your time and interest to just see what's going on, and you check it out.
Yeah. So you say yes. You're a yes person. You say yes
I
to
think
life.
pretty much so. I mean, you know, sometimes to the detriment of, you know, my family will say, well,
How so?
you stop doing that. Okay. But I you know, because like I said, I'd rather be, I'm here again with you. I mean, you know, because I remember it was a pleasant experience. If it hadn't been, Dan would have said no. You know?
Yes.
But it was like, oh yeah, I remember her. Sure, I remember doing that. Yeah, I'll do it again. Sure. So
I
that's all.
so appreciate that. I'm a yes person too, and I love being it. Yeah, if you have something that's good, you have a good way to spend time. Yeah, why not do it?
Yeah, if you had a good experience, why wouldn't you do it again? Sure.
So how is it sometimes to the detriment of your family?
Well, I just think sometimes because you know, I'll commit myself. You know, they'll say, "Hey, we'd all like to go do," and I go, "Oh, you know, on that day I have to go." Oh, what would you take that thing for? You know, you know, but it's nothing usually. They get it.
Is Arlene is your wife, right?
Uh-huh.
Is she active also? Does she like to do a lot of things, or
She does. She's, you know, I've always said, and it's really true. She's Lucy to my Ricky. I mean, if anybody who knows the you know, I Love Lucy show, and what that dynamics were of that, you know, he was the front guy. He was the guy appearing at the nightclub every night. He was the
Yeah.
personality, and she was the housewife who's home, but yet was running the show.
and antics of all
Oh,
kinds?
everything. You know, just like, you know, I've often said, people think I'm in the spotlight. No, she is the light. I mean, she's like, she's the one that keeps it all going. Our oldest daughter has autism, which is, she's 38 years old, yet is still, 13 and not sometimes even, the best day for her would still be to go to Disneyland every day and see the princesses. So, I mean, just even that's something that I know, and because she's a woman, it's a different dynamic with her and her mother than would be even if she would have been a boy, a man, and a dad and his son. So you have a daughter with autism at 38, and my other child is female as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm even the cat is still female. I mean, I'm the only male thing in the building. So my wife's got a lot on her plate and really does it well and jiggles a lot of different plates and has always been an entrepreneur. Started a restaurant we had for 16 years, had a brownie business, tried to invent a watch back when I was making 10 cents. She came up with this idea for this thing called the Ovu watch for women to have that would let them know when they're ovulating, so it would be the best time to.
No way. She was ahead of her time with that.
Absolutely. And she contacted some guy that somebody turned her on to who was like a guy that maybe could draw diagrams of it and stuff like that. And this was back in the late 70s.
So what happened with that?
It never went anywhere, but ultimately somebody came up with that years later.
Yeah.
A version of that. It was like a great idea because it was right around the time we were thinking about, having a child. But that's what I mean. She's always got some sort of scheme going.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So that's also, that's a key ingredient too, I think, because you both like to get involved, engage with ideas and things.
Yeah. And our house was always like the clubhouse, even when we lived in a little apartment. In other words, the people would know they can hang out at our place. Friday night or something, can come over and just hang out. So that didn't change.
Right. So is she involved in you have a tequila business now?
Yeah,
right?
Well, I'm part owner, but no, she doesn't. She's not actively involved in that, which is fine. There's no need for that, and that came about just by, it was a mutual friend approached me and said, there's this woman, because he had a show called The Booze Traveler. I don't know if you ever watched it. I think it was on the Food Channel, where he traveled around the world, and like, here I am in Portugal where they make port, and let's talk about, so it was kind of an interesting show. So he knew this woman, Debbie Medina, who owned this company called Señor Rio Tequila, her and her husband, and had built it from scratch. And they had this incredible story of how she started because she didn't know who her father was, and she didn't find out until she was an adult. And then the father reaches her from Mexico, says, "I'm your father. I want to meet you." And her attitude was, "Go to hell with you. Where you been all my life?" But her young husband at the time tells her, "No, wait. This is your chance to meet your birth father. I'll go with you. We'll go down to Mexico." Anyway, next thing you know, they go to this little town in Mexico. They meet this fairly simple man and they're drinking this tequila that he's making homemade out of like Coke bottles. And they get the whole story, and she realizes, okay, there's something to this. It wasn't, I've been wrong to maybe, hate this man all my life.
Yeah.
So they patch that up. But then they realize they're not getting that drunk and sick. And what is this stuff? And he goes, well, this is our family's been making this for 3 generations, this tequila. And so that's when her and her husband get this idea. Hey, maybe we can. And of course, the father's all in. And that's why they named it after him. His name was Rodrigo, so Señor Rio. So they do it, her and the husband, and he was a formidable guy, her husband, big, strapping guy. They start selling it out of the trunk of their car, whatever they did, and then get hooked up with this company through Total Wines, Total Wine stores throughout the country.
Yeah.
Her husband, then they have a child. They have 2 grandchildren. Grandchildren are born with, I think it's called Angel syndrome, something like that. Her grandchildren, it's a horrendous kind of disease, and these twins, they're like handicapped, they're in wheelchairs. These are her grandchildren. So she starts donating $1 for everything she sold toward this kind of charitable outlet. What happens is her husband unexpectedly dies, passes away. So now this is the story my friend's telling me, saying, so she's looking for somebody to just partner up with, maybe in show business. to help her because she's running this thing all by herself now. And the husband was a huge, formidable force in it. So he hit me with this. I said, I'll meet with her. What the heck?
See?
Yeah, and we met, and then I liked what she was doing, and her energy, her spunk, what she was trying to do. And I thought, look, it's not my day job, but what the hell? Yeah, I'll be part owner of a tequila company. Okay, put that on the resume, I guess. All right, see where that goes. And it's been, we're going on, I guess, our third year now doing that. I'm leaving this Friday, in fact, going to Arizona to do some promotion for it. And we'll see what happens. Again, like all I'm just trying to do is, build this thing up along with her. And we still have this charitable wing of it because I have a foundation. She has a foundation. We contribute to that. So we figure, why not? Again, well.
I love that story, and that's that attitude that I'm talking about. That why not? Let's see what happens. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained,
yeah.
And if it takes us back to where we were, okay, we put in the time and the effort, and it is. But hopefully, we could maybe to another level, and people benefit from it.
I think that's a theme in your life. That's also why you're not just trying to enjoy every minute because you're never going to get November 5th back. I think also that is really your approach is, oh, well, sure, let's just see. Why not?
Well, yeah, it's worked. I've never been a planner. I mean, like a lot of people plan their careers in terms of, I think I'll do a comedy next or a drama, or maybe I'd like to write something, or I'd like to produce something. No, I mean, I feel very blessed that, it's like, I don't know. This is what I do, and let's just see what happens. And a door will open, and it's like, well, let's see what's here. Okay, and sometimes it leads to something.
So does everything come to you, like mostly?
Well, in a way, sometimes the opportunity is there, and then you act on that opportunity, and you see what happens. My whole career has been that.
Right, but so then people do come to you. Then things do come to you.
Well,
or you just
look. My career started when I was in acting school in Chicago at the Goodman School of Drama. I was about to start my third year, and all of a sudden it comes out that the play Hair, which was like Hamilton is today.
Yeah.
Hair was this biggest thing on Broadway. They were now going to take national companies in Chicago and L.A. They were going to be casting them. And I thought, I've done musicals in high school and junior college. That's what I did, musicals. I said, that'd be fun. I think I'll try out for that. And of course, I go and I get all the callbacks. Boom, 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 boom. Next thing I know, I'm cast in the Hair in Chicago. That was my first professional job. It's like, I guess I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. I remember I was supposed to finish my third year at acting school, but I went to the dean, and thank God in his wisdom, he said, hey, it's an acting school. You got a job.
Yeah.
See you later. So that started that. The next thing you know, after that's over, I'm banging around. There's auditions for Godspell, the play. I get in that. Do that. Next thing I'm done banging around. There's this group, the Organic Theater, who I met through Andre DeShields, tremendous actor, Andre DeShields, who played the original Wiz and The Wiz and all that. He was in that production of Hair, which my wife was into. That's her and I got together back then, 1969. So we've been together since then. So that led me to the Organic Theater, which wound up open, whatever. That's how I met Dennis Franz. That's how I met, Stuart Gordon, how Bleacher Bums came about. Ultimately, so one thing leads to another. So it's not like I was out there saying, oh God, I want to, check I don't want to check the casting calls or read Variety and look what's out there. You just one thing kind of tends to lead to another, and sometimes it works out. It's not that you get everything that you apply for or audition for, let's say, in the business. But when you do, you do.
I think that's rare.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's rare or not, but it's whatever. Like I said,
yeah,
worked for me. Look, when I was out here, I was doing okay. I was doing little guest shots on this and stuff like that. When my dear friend David Mamet, who I'd done many little things with in Chicago, calls and said, "Hey, Mantegne, I got this new play called Glengarry Glen Ross. I think we're going to take it to Chicago, maybe take it to Broadway. You in?" It's like, I was doing like guest shots on Archie Bunker's place out here at the time and stuff. So yeah, sure, Dave.
Good
Let's
move.
give it a shot.
Yeah.
And so what did that turn into? That turned into, I won a Tony Award. The show wins the Pulitzer Prize. It was a massive change in my life, in my career. But I couldn't orchestrate that. I didn't make that happen. Obviously, things I had done prior to it helped in a way,
Sure.
make it happen. But that's like everybody's life.
Yeah.
Connections you make or things you do sometimes intertwine, and something happens because of it.
Yeah. So I saw it on Broadway, the newer show.
The last one?
The last one.
Which was the fourth one. I feel like Lee J. Cobb from, Death of a Salesman, the original guy from that. I feel like, how old am I, 100?
But you're the original. And I saw it with, Bob Odenkirk, speaking of which.
Odenkirk, and he got nominated for a Tony, which I was so thrilled
good.
to hear.
They were really good. And
sure.
Michael McKean also has, as they say,
I
they're
know
small parts,
Michael
but not
was
small
great.
actors.
And I know Culkin was
Kieran
in it.
Culkin.
That's the character I played,
Right.
Ricky Roma. And there were 3 other productions prior to that.
I know,
I
yeah.
think Pacino did one.
I think Liev Schreiber did one too.
He did. Liev Schreiber. He did the second one.
Okay. And then it's also interesting. I don't think most people realize that Always Be Closing is not part of the actual play. It's from the movie.
Right. Yeah, that character doesn't exist in the play. But we
Alec
talk about him.
Baldwin's, right.
Alec Baldwin's, but he, of course, did that was a great addition to the movie. And they talk about it a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of, so Al Pacino did it in the movie. Did your role, Ricky Roma. And then you were with him in The Godfather Part 3. So what was your relationship with him like?
With Al?
Yeah.
That was good. I mean, I think we had a mutual respect for each other. I mean, Al knew me from the theater, from that stuff.
So did he see you playing Ricky Roma?
I believe he did, yeah. And I know De Niro did, because they were both offered the role first, the Broadway play.
Oh, Mamet offered.
Well, Mamet did, and the producers did. Because Mamet was still, he had the thing he had on Broadway at the time prior was American Buffalo with Robert Duvall, and it was successful enough that it got him the ability to mount this new play, Glengarry Glen Ross, on Broadway. But of course, they wanted names, so they went to, I believe it was, I don't know who was first or second, but it was Pacino and De Niro were both offered the role. But it was a new play. They had great careers going already, so it wasn't like they needed to do this new play. And Mamet was still really not really anybody yet but this brand new playwright. So they didn't do it. But Mamet, God bless him, basically went to the producers after that. They both, said thank you, but no. He said, look, I understand, but I'd like to start casting with guys I know, some Chicago guys that I've kind of, the guys I'm writing about, these kind of guys.
The guys.
Which was
Real
myself,
guys.
Jack Wallace, J.J. Johnson. We're talking about guys, some of them were ex-convicts. I mean, this is what they did in past lives. But thank God the producers went along with it like, yeah, okay, you're okay. We'll let you do that. Because we really had no name above the title. None of us on that stage of that production were anybody of any note. Robert Prosky probably had the best credits because he was very active at the Arena Stage in Washington, but only basically in theater, not much film work. I had done basically nothing but little few things. So no, we were all nobodies.
Well, that's like Al's story too, isn't it, in The Godfather? Because Francis Ford Coppola
exactly the same.
Fought for him.
Absolutely the same. And so I think maybe Al and I shared that kind of simpatico kind of understanding. And I totally understand why they would want him then to do the movie, because that's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
Carol Channing didn't do a Hello Dolly either, but she did the original Broadway production, but they went with Barbra Streisand. I get it.
Right.
But I got to say this about Mamet. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was on the road doing Glengarry with Peter Falk.
Yeah.
We're doing the national tour after the Broadway run. Now the show had already won the Pulitzer. I'd already won the Tony. Life was going great for me. Things were like certainly on the upswing. But I'm still doing the play. And I never stopped doing it. I did the play from the very first performance to the very last of Glengarry. I made sure I stuck around. I wanted to.
You didn't miss one performance? What? You didn't say that.
I never got sick. I never missed a performance because of that. I missed 2 performances because I got a TV series in the middle that they shot on Wednesday afternoon. I had to miss 2 Wednesday matinees on Broadway. That was it.
Bad.
That's not bad. I only missed those 2 performances. But I remember while we were on a tour, we're in wherever I was, San Francisco, Boston, with Peter, doing the play. And Mamet comes into my dressing room. And And he was always, he talks like he writes, very few words, gets right to the point. He always calls me Montaigne. He goes, "Hey, Montaigne, I just want to let you know, I just sold the rights to Glengarry. The movie, you ain't doing it. Pacino's doing the role." And I was like, and it wasn't like I was shocked. I mean, it was like, I'd heard inklings that they were going to maybe make the movie, and of course they're going to get stars. And I went, "Oh, okay, Dave." And then the next breath, he goes, "But I won't make these 2 movies without you." And he went in his bag. He carries like a mail bag, leather mail, like a mailman has. And he pulls out these scripts, and one was for this movie House of Games, and one was for the movie Things Change with Don Amici. He says, "I won't make these 2 movies without you." And those 2 roles, if I had to trade, would I have rather done the movie Glengarry and not do those movies, or vice versa? That would be tough. So I mean, God, talk about an honorable human being. So, gee, thanks, Dave. Of course, not knowing what's going to happen with it, but I love doing both those films for lots of different reasons. And so, what more can you ask for?
Yeah.
It could have been just like, "Oh, by the way, Al Pacino's doing the movie. Thanks for all your help. Maybe I'll see you someday." No, it wasn't like that. No, we've stayed very close to this day.
Yeah. So that he packaged it well too. That's like what you do. And he obviously wanted more from you. It's so interesting. Because he also that was a play, and then he went to movies. So he also saw that he wanted you in his movies. So
and then House of Games was the first movie he directed. And he and Lindsay Krause, who was his wife at the time, are the 2 leads in that.
Okay. So Diane Keaton, did you have what kind of relationship did you have
I
with
got
her?
to know her a little bit because we did Godfather together.
Yeah.
And actually, I got to see her. I saw her just this past year. I saw her in February on Palm Springs. She happened to be there at an event I was at as well, and we saw each other. She wasn't at the event, but she was at a breakfast place that next day. And we said, "Oh, Diane, how are you?" I didn't realize she probably was even ill at the time. 'Cause she seemed very, somewhat fragile, maybe. I guess, but I just thought maybe she's just, she wasn't sick. But all I'm saying is, in thinking about it, I could see she wasn't gregarious or anything. She was very kind of, but she was kind of like that anyway. She's kind of sweet, But I didn't know her well. But of course, the time we were all in Italy doing Godfather 3, she was there as well.
And Andy Garcia, it sounds like you stay in touch with him?
Oh, we're still very close touch because we were the 2 new guys on that movie.
Yeah, that's a big movie to walk onto as a new guy.
Yeah, and I think we both felt it. So it was almost like we hung out a lot together, even though we were playing, he kills me in the movie. I mean, it's not like, we played the opposite end of the same stick, but we've stayed very close. We live probably 3 blocks from each other to this day.
Okay.
And I'm very close to him, and know his whole family. He knows mine. And and we even do a big charity cigar dinner every year at Lakeside Golf Club that we put on together. We just did our 3rd one a couple months ago.
Okay, so aside from acting, directing, producing, because you do all of them.
Yeah.
On Criminal Minds, you've done a lot of episodes, right?
I've directed, maybe 12, 13 of them. Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, I think that's a lot. And you've produced, you still producing?
Yeah, we produce things. I co-produce a show I've done for 15 years on the Outdoor Channel called Gun Stories, which is not as ominous as it sounds, because it's more about we trace the history of historical firearms, which is a niche kind of a show, but in that world is very popular. And I've produced other little things here and there, and yeah. I'm one of the producers on the National Memorial Day concert that I've been doing for 23, 24 years in Washington.
Okay. And then you've also got the tequila.
That's the tequila. We're trying to get, in fact, my assistant Dan wrote a book called Long Branch that's a terrific novel. We're trying to turn that into a TV series.
Okay.
We're getting really good feedback on that.
So what does that entail to turn that into a TV series?
It's getting the people interested who has the cash, the ability to turn it into a TV series.
So you're pitching to people who have funding?
Well, yeah, funding.
Like studios and stuff?
Yeah, studios, whatever it may be, yeah. In other words, and people who have access to them, people who the showrunners who know how to make that happen. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But it's got to start with the premise, though, so the origin and the material. I mean, I've always lived by the tenet: if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. That's for whether it's theater, film, television, whatever. And so if the material is really good, then you got a shot. And like in this instance, I think the material is really good. It's already won some awards. The book is really, and it lends itself to being like a series. In other words, it's got the kind of, the main character, just what it's about is, you know, it's I think it's got a lot of appeal. So we'll see.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
just
again,
just being Joe Mantegna doesn't get you a series. Like you figured it would, but
I
it's
don't know
not
if-
that easy to get.
Yeah, I don't
something
think.
picked up.
I don't. You know. No. And in this instance, I wouldn't be a lead in this series anyway. It's not about me. But I think, you know, hopefully we get doors open. We get at least people to listen. But at the end of the day, you like to think that the people who do this for a living, who create these kinds of things, have that kind of talent to be able to say,
To see.
"Oh yeah, I agree with you. This is really good.
Yeah,
Let's do
yeah.
this." And if they're not, then what the hell are they doing in the business? You know what I mean?
I know. Well, now it sounds like everybody's afraid for their jobs and stuff. And they only want to make sure things.
That's why I just saw online. I thought the writer, the movie maker, Philip Thomas, the three names, Anderson. What's his name? He's got the new film out with
I
Paul
know.
Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
Him.
What about?
Well, just that they no, if it's true, they listed on. I saw a little thing on the internet. His 10 favorite films, and he listed House of Games as his favorite film, which is that film I did with Mamet, which I thought, oh wow. And I know he's hired a lot of the Mamet kind of people to do his stuff in the past,
cool.
and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And so when you see something like that gives you a little kind of, you like to think that you hopefully what you would like to think is your peer group, that we're all in the same kind of frame of mind here, you know. And so you feel like it's I feel very that's the best thing about being in this position, that you can't control where you fall in at the end of the day in pecking order, and there's not that there is one, but all you wanted to do is play in the big leagues. I equate it all to kind of like sports, you know. So as an actor, you know, you start off, you're doing Little League, you're doing the Pony League, you're doing Legion Ball. I did a lot of that stuff, high school. Then you realize I'll never do it professionally. I just don't have the talent in sports.
Right.
But in terms of acting, you're hoping to get to. So all you want to do is get that shot in the big leagues. You know, not necessarily have to win Oscars and things and them saying, oh, I think he was the greatest actor who ever lived. It's all going to be opinionated. All you want to do is be able to play the game at the highest level.
Yeah.
And I've been able to do that. I've worked with the best. I've worked with the best directors, the best actors in the world. And so I got nothing to complain about. Where I fall in is that the public decides. You know, my wife and I mostly watch old movies from the 30s and 40s because we love that stuff. Turner Classic Movies is on my TV constantly. And maybe someday in the year, 2060, they're watching, a lot of my old movies saying, oh yeah, we love that guy. And if so be it. But you know what I mean? But I again, like I say, I just feel blessed to have got to that level where I achieved what I wanted to do, is play with the big boys and girls.
Do you ever have a moment, like, it feels like your perspective is so good, like such a healthy perspective. Did you ever have a moment where you really didn't have that?
Not really.
Really?
Because I thought to myself, I guess maybe because of my background. I grew up in the west side of Chicago and moved to Cicero, Illinois, which the only thing famous about Cicero was Al Capone, at the time. And I guess because I liked what I did, and I always say this, and it's true, I don't like what I do any more now than when I did it in like high school. Like the enjoyment I get of like going, like when I'm shooting, let's say, Criminal Minds, and I go to work and do the show. The enjoyment I get from it is not one iota greater than I did when I, played, did the lead in Brigadoon at Morton Junior College, and I played Tommy Albright and sang, Heather on the Hill. I'm getting paid a lot more, since I got paid nothing then, and the tickets were $1 to get in. And then when I was on Broadway, people were paying maybe $200 for a seat, maybe. But for me, it's exactly the same. And I'm sure if you ask somebody like Michael Jordan, what did you like better, playing high school basketball or winning rings for the Bulls? I can't say for sure, but I would think guys like him might say, it's all good. I loved it then, I love it now, But it's not like, oh, it's going to be much greater when I'm here and making money and successful. And then the other stuff was just a stepping stone. I never felt that. I always felt like, man, I like what I do, and I still do. So, so no, I didn't have those moments of like, yeah, sometimes you have those moments of like, gee, I wish things were going, oh, I'm a little worried. I haven't worked in a while and got to go on unemployment. Could we make the rent? And you find a way, and you do. But I was never like, I sold shoes. I became a photographer. I did headshots. I had my own business, and I enjoyed it.
When was this? When you were doing what?
When I first moved out here.
Okay.
I moved out here in 1978, and I didn't know anybody much or anything. I had a few contacts and stuff, but I didn't have an agent or anything. We were doing plays. A lot of us from Chicago who had been together with the Organic Theater, we came and did a play called Cops that we'd done in Chicago. We did Bleacher Bums, which we had done in Chicago. This helped us get agents, helped us get little bits here and there. But to really, I wanted to do something to make sure I was making an income. And I had a friend who was a professional photographer, and he taught me how to take like the perfect headshot. Back then you needed headshots, you know, and he was like the photographer in Chicago for like the mayor and for big things, the orchestra.
Yeah.
So he knew how to do this.
How do you take the perfect headshot?
Well, lighting is huge. So you just, if you can control the lighting and you got and you got a good camera. I'm talking, this was back in the days you shot 35 millimeter.
Right.
And, you know, and I bought a portrait lens from a stewardess who flew to Japan because she was able to get lenses in Japan cheap. These really good Japanese lenses, portrait lenses. So I knew how to take a really good headshot. And I made a living doing that. And in fact, I don't know if I've told the story before, but when I won the Tony Award, I was taking headshots right up until I got that role. You know, went to Broadway, got through. The night I won the Tony Award, I came back to the apartment in New York. We were staying with a friend, staying in our extra rooms, staying, because we didn't know. We were going to be in New York. The show could have been a flop, you know.
Right.
There was an answering machine, and all our calls from people trying to call me in California were sent to this machine. So I'm playing, and of course, as you can imagine, all these people who had watched the Tony Awards were, Joe, I saw you there, you know, family. It was great. One of them was this manager of clients. I took the pictures of all his clients, you know, back in L.A., that I was his photographer. And he didn't know I never told him I was an actor, because the last thing an actor who you're taking his picture of wants to hear is, oh yeah, I'm an actor. I want to be like you.
Right.
Because I was taking pictures of some guys that were working actors. So all of a sudden I played a message, beep, Joe, I forget his name was, you know, this is Bill. My wife and I were watching the Tony Awards tonight. I can't believe it. You won the Tony Award. Then the next thing out of his mouth was, does this mean you won't be taking photos of my clients anymore? Get back to me. And as it turned out, no, I didn't take any more pictures.
No more. That was the end of that.
But I enjoyed it. So I guess my point being that had it not worked out, and I'd have gone back to L.A., I'd have started taking pictures again. Yeah. And I loved doing it because I made my own hours. I controlled it. It was an art medium. I got to work with people. I mean, of course, I would, you know, especially when I was taking pictures of successful actors, I'm thinking, boy, but I was just on this side of the lens.
Yeah.
But it never got me like, I was like, oh God. Because I liked what I was doing. I was getting enough to get by. And my wife we both felt the same way. We're having a good time. You know, we weren't living extravagantly. We were living in a one bedroom apartment in Studio City for 8 years until things started working out. But it was okay, you know. I never got bitter or to where, and if it had got too hard, I think I'd have walked away.
Right.
I really do think I said, you know what, I'm just going to be a photographer or something, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, in other words, but the desire, it wasn't like I was saying, unless I make, you know, X amount of money and be really successful, have a brand new car, I'm not going to be happy. And it wasn't like that. Because my parents didn't have that. My father died. He was 57 years old because he was in bad health all his life. My mother lived to be 101. Mm-hmm. And I may have told you, she didn't even know what I did for a living.
Yeah.
You know, so how could I be too wrapped up in what I do when my own mother really doesn't quite understand what I do?
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of how you developed these approaches to life.
I guess. I mean, you
I don't know.
everybody is
different.
Yeah, everybody is a combination of everything about them and
100%.
everything all their experiences and all the people they are met and are family with.
Yes. At the same time, two people can be in a similar situation and come out of it completely different.
Absolutely.
Based on like how they handle it. Some people are more resilient than others. Some people have better
Right.
perspective,
No, that's
mindset
true.
than others.
That's true. A lot of it, maybe, who knows? I don't know. Maybe when the chromosomes line up in your head too. I don't know.
Yeah, hard to say. But interestingly too, you're also like tuned into other people who you realize, like Tom Hanks, I'm just thinking about as the example of, you saw that and you're like, I want to be like that. You didn't just, you observed it and you decided I'm going to be that when I'm in his place.
But it just seemed like, wow, because it was just so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to make their surroundings as pleasant as possible? I thought, here's a guy, wow, he made an impact on me, that by doing that.
So a lot of people made an impact on you over the years.
Sure.
Who else comes to mind right away as like this person really shifted my approach to life? I'm not talking about professionally,
Right.
personally.
Oh, wow. Oh, it's a myriad of people. I mean, I think, it's not like I could point to like, oh yes, I ran into Mother Teresa at a young age and it turned me around. I think it's a compilation of all of that, because you just, I feel like right now I feel blessed. Like when I go to, well, first of all, look, my wife and I've been together, like I said, since 1969. We've been together, what is that, way over 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, she's obviously very instrumental in who I am and what I'm about. So, that she's been very strong influence that way.
What did she give you?
A lot of laughs, among other things. I think just her strength, her we're a good fit. She's from a similar background, both from Chicago, similar kind of economic backgrounds. Not a lot of, like differences going there. There's a lot of, we're pretty compatible. She's basically, she's basically Czech and French and German a little bit, and I'm Italian, and it's just there's a mix there. My kids are a mix of that, and I don't know, but she's a very strong influence, and my whole family's been that though too, because they've all been pretty normal. I have an older brother, he's 8 years older than I am, and he's the mensch. He's like, my he's a saint, it's just great.
What's he like?
Just very smart. He was a lot like my dad. My dad was actually very smart, because my dad was always in ill health. He read a lot and was very, a lot of it was mental to him because he couldn't do a lot physically. And so my brother had that. My brother's a writer. He wrote copy for Montgomery Ward's for many years. But, had 2 kids, got grandchildren, he's got like one of those storybook kind of lives, and deserves it and earns it. And just stayed home. He's the guy that he was the homebody. Stayed in Chicago. He lived 10 minutes from where my mother was, so he kind of filled that kind of position. And he's a mensch. He's great. Couldn't pick a better human being for a brother than he is.
You have such appreciation and gratitude, I think, in so many ways.
Man,
it's so
why
nice,
wouldn't I?
It's so nice to. I know, but it's just so like, I think the more people who are like that, and then you just give that to, like, when people are with you, then they feel that it spreads. It's a good thing.
Well, I hope so, if that's the case. But like I said, what do I got to complain about? Look, hey, people give me stuff,
Yeah, not bad. We'll do a little walk around if you don't mind, and we'll take a little video or some pictures of some of this.
Okay.
One last question before we do that. What are you still working on, personally, not professionally?
Oh, wow. What am I still working on? Well, I'll put it this way. Even if I made it to 101, which I would certainly have my doubts about, I'm no way around it. I'm in my last quarter, at 78. So all I'm working on is to make that last quarter as best as golden as possible for myself and for anybody I'm in contact with, and people who are maybe somewhat dependent on me. Just that's all. To be able to go out with. I remember reading once in a book that the best goal in life is probably to live the life so that way, when you leave, the world is not any worse for you being there, maybe a iota better that you existed. So if just even iota somebody's benefited by the fact that you were alive, then that's a successful life. In other words, if you're on the plus side as opposed to the negative side. Obviously, there's a lot of people that should never have been born. We could have done without Hitler. You know what I mean? The world would have been a better place. But we were lucky to have gotten some of the other people, like the Mother Teresa's and whoever. You don't have to even be that, but just somebody who, even if it was just somebody who just all their life just lived a regular life and made some people happy, and maybe gave up $5 to a guy who was starving on the street once. If that was the only one, and that was the one positive thing he did, at least he did that. So it was better that he lived than not. Leave a positive impact on, leave your mark as a positive mark of you having lived. That's all. So I got however many this last quarter. I hope to kind of do that.
Clearly, you've done it already, and you will continue to do it.
Well, your lips to God's ears. I hope so.
Paul Thomas Anderson definitely gained something from the work that you did.
Well, if it's true, can't always believe the internet, but we'll see. I'd like to think so.
Yeah, no, you definitely did. And on behalf of everybody, thank you for being here.
Thank you once again.
Thanks, Joe.
Okie doke.
Should we have gotten to anything that we didn't?
God, I don't think so. I think you probably know me better now than most any other human. I've done more with you than I've done with most.
Really? I do feel lucky
so
about it.
you're like, and you look like my cousin Maureen, so
That's
we got
right.
a lot going there. No, I mean, I think I really think you've had as much a snapshot of maybe at least who I think I am, that I am. Yeah.
That's always my goal.
Well, you're good at what you do. I mean, I just think like you learn a lot just from what people ask you and how they respond to it. So that's why I'm back. Because you made enough impression on me the first time. I thought, yeah, I had a good time with that. I like that person. She's you're insightful. You're good. There's something to this. Hopefully, I would like to think, if people who watch it, and if they're getting something positive out of it, then that's what it's all about.
I'm sure they will. That's, it has such value, I think, to just be able to hear you and see you and see who you really are.
Oh, thank you. Well, great. But it's great. And the fact that you've done HA and Aish and the others, have you done Paget?
I have not done Paget.
I did Paget. Paget's great.
Oh, yeah?
I've been, that whole group. And the guys, too. Adam Rodriguez is fantastic. RJ, the new guy, Hatanaka. And even the older guys. I mean, I love them all. I've been very blessed with this show.
It's a great group. I mean, AJ I love, and I already had her on one time, and then another time we were in touch. Great. And then Aisha, this was the first time I met her. It was a couple months ago.
Right.
And fabulous.
Oh, she's brilliant.
I mean, yeah, brilliant. Like, such an interesting conversation.
No, and her mother, you should meet her mother. She's all tatted up. Oh, she sings blues. Uh-huh. She's like incredible.
Huh.
She's like around my age, and she's awesome. No, she's tremendous.
Yeah, she's great.
And Paget's too.
So maybe I'll try to talk to Paget too.
Yeah, tell her you talk to me and AJ, and that should seal the deal. Kirsten too. Did you talk to Kirsten?
So I met Kirsten briefly as part of the media tour where I first met you. Mm-hmm. We did a brief conversation, both of us.
Right.
Or all three of us.
Right.
So, but it wasn't a full.
Yeah, Kirsten too.
So her too.
All those three girls.
Yeah. So I will do more of that, and I like to pump up.
Oh, those three girls are tremendous. If I had to invent three women that I've worked with for 17 years, I couldn't have done better than
really?
That. Yeah, they're just also just great.
I mean, I see that. You can see it.
Yeah, and they're the real deal. I mean, just beautiful people, all three of them.
I also wonder if some of the success of the show does have to do with the fact that you are all the real deal. Like I would describe you as the real deal also, just like you're describing them. And I like to use that term because it really says it. Right. So I wonder if having the main players as the real deal makes the whole production more successful to be sustainable.
Can't hurt.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's certainly, if nothing else, like I say, it helps sets the tone of like, you know, it's hard. What we do is hard. I mean, people, you know, the people outside, they watch the show, they don't realize what goes into creating. Our drama is the hardest job in Hollywood. You know, half-hour sitcoms is that's their hours are better. It's a little more.
Yeah,
you know,
they have like the multi-camera.
yeah,
right, all
I
that.
love doing that. You know, I did a good amount of that early on. I did the last 8 episodes of the show Soap, which I don't know.
Yeah, I know about Soap. I didn't watch it, but
No,
I
of
know
course
it.
you'd have been. I don't know if you were born yet, but it was great, and I could have done that forever. But that's how I got to know Billy Crystal, and it was great because you didn't even, you went on Monday, you did a reading of it, and then you'd be there for an hour, and then you go away to come back Tuesday because the writers now are going to change it. Then you come back on Tuesday, rehearsal a bit, Wednesday rehearsal a bit, Thursday rehearsal a bit, Friday you do live, 2 audiences like a play, and then you go home. And so it's like so civilized.
Yeah.
You know, our drama's the
dream,
opposite. Sometimes you'll do
right.
14-hour days, you know.
And it's also like heavy material.
Heavy
so,
material. Yeah, it's the opposite. It's the end of the stick. But it's okay, you know.
Are you able to, like, between takes and whatnot, is there some lightness around?
God,
like
there's
nobody, you're not walking around heavy?
Oh, God, no. It's the exact opposite.
That's pretty good. So you plug in as soon as the cameras roll and then
Absolutely.
out?
Absolutely. You have to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be, oh, God, you want to kill yourself
Yeah,
if you had to live in
yeah.
that world. No, that's what's great about it. Because people are only seeing that, you know, 40, well, now that we're streaming, it's a full hour worth of stuff. But back when we were on network, you know, you're shooting 44 minutes worth of program. And you have 8 days to do that. So you got 8 days to shoot 44 minutes. What are you doing all those other 14 hours a day for 8 days? It's like, no, it's like, it's jump ball. I mean, especially you got characters like Matthew Goobler on the set, and, you know, and Shamar, and, you know, we've had a mixture of, you know, it's always good times.
Yeah.
And very light and stuff, crazy stuff going on, because you have to. But when the camera rolls and there's moments that are dead serious, you got to do that. It's okay.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.